What's going on there, guys? Good morning, good afternoon out there. It is the Earthmaster here on this Monday, May 9th, 2022 date, about 11:43 a.m. Latest quake here shows a 2.2 earthquake into the area of Oklahoma. This comes after quite a bit of earthquake movement once again around the Philippine plate. We've been seeing a pretty good significant swarm in those areas along the western and the southwestern portion of the Philippine plate. So let's go ahead and check out the latest movement here from the USGS map. And this morning, off the coast of Taiwan, they did have a 6.3 earthquake, 27 kilometers deep. And so far, we've seen a couple aftershocks there in the 5 and 4 range. This kind of comes up after a pretty good swarm of movement here along the southwestern portion of the Philippine trench, the Philippine plate here. Got two separate swarming locations that we monitored throughout the last week, last 2 weeks or so. One up here to the north, and then we had a little migration here to the south. And then last night we noticed some further swarming down here around the Molucca Sea, and also just here to the north in this region. And then, of course, this morning, about midnight my time here along the west coast, we had that earthquake up here around Taiwan in the Japan region. So definitely quite a bit of strain and pressure still here along the Philippine plate. I think that's still very obvious with the activity that we've seen early this morning and late last night there off the coast of Taiwan. And still some further movement and back building of pressure up here to the north. And also we're starting to see a return of deep activity here in the Fiji Islands area with almost 600 kilometer deep, 4.5. This one coming in at 593 kilometers, and a little subsequent shallow earthquake up towards the Tonga Trench at 35 kilometers. Still watching this zone right here, though. We have not seen any adjustment, but I think the directional movement of the pressure and the plates right now is definitely within the Philippine plate region. We did see some Mariana Trench activity last week, I believe it was. A little earthquake activity here along the northern Mariana Islands area with a couple 5s and some 4s kicking off there. Some of that deep as well. So got to remember, deeper earthquake activity here to the east does tend to increase the pressure quite greatly here along the western portion of the Philippine plate. What else we got since then? Some movement, a little bit of activity throughout the Indonesia area and the Andaman Sea region up here north of the Java Trench. But for the most part, activity has been confined here to this region. One earthquake out here in the Indian Ocean, mid-Indian Ridge, seen a 4.8, and some activity outside of Madagascar. Looks like a 4.5 within this channel. Up to the north here, 4.1 in France, and I know we've seen a little activity up here around the Jan Mayen area. That was from last night. We haven't seen any subsequent movement there yet. So it looks like things may be tapering off there temporarily. Although I did note the lack of activity down here in the South Sandwich Islands area with this large scale, well, not large scale, but movement up here to the north part of the Atlantic and down here in the southern part of the Atlantic like we've seen here. Definitely will apply pressure further to the west here with that general movement here westward. So we did see a 4.5 in the South Sandwich Islands following these two quakes up here, the one in the South Atlantic and the activity we've been seeing up here in the Arctic Circle area. Let's see, South America regions, a little bit of activity, a little newer movement. This morning it looks like a 5.0 around the Easter Island area. Seen some activity, and another 4.2 in the Chile area. This one's pretty deep at 118 kilometers for that 4.2. Puerto Rico area kind of calming down a little bit. Nothing really major to report in that area. And off the coast of Guatemala, this earthquake here from earlier, 4.5. So looking at the states here, we got one earthquake here in the northern part of Oklahoma, 2.3 near Jefferson. Out there in the oil fields, I'm sure, the Wakita Trend and gas fields, oil and gas fields all over the place out there. So 2.3 right now. The rest of the Southern plains, only spotty. But look over here. Look towards the east. Getting some activity kick up here around the South Carolina region. Now, this area has seen a swarm of movement. These little swarms come and go. They last for, a couple days or so, and then they go quiet for months, and then they kick back up again. It's been a while since we've seen a little swarm in this area, and it's specifically within this area that we've seen that prior swarming. Let me check the last 30 days of activity, and yeah, it's definitely been well over 30 days since the swarming was in this region. But gonna watch that 3.3 in the South Carolina region. Looks like it was felt by a few folks out there. Let's check out the Did You Feel It map. All over the region there, it looks like Columbia, Rock Hill, even up to Rock Hill, Charlotte. Quite a wide, broad area of folks reporting it. It looks like just light to some moderate shaking being reported by the user reports, the user felt reports here. So let's see what else we got here. We did have some aftershock sequences here, 1.6 and a 1.8 within the same vicinity. Like I said, these swarms, they come and go, and something to watch pretty closely here for some intensifying activity here in the coming hours or days. This one kicked off at looks like that was late last night there in the South Carolina region, but still got to watch out for that swarming that could kick up pretty soon. Pacific Northwest, a little bit of activity outside of Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. Once again, hey, at least they're reporting the activity, right? Looks like Mount Rainier is having a little bit of swarm right there at the summit as well. Let's go ahead and check out the not Yellowstone, but the trimmer map here along the region. Nothing going on last night along the Pacific Northwest, but we're going to check out the volcanic seismicity maps here, the seismographs at Mount Rainier first. And it looks like that activity has been right there at the summit. That's being reported. I know some of these stations here are out of whack. I think we're missing one. I kind of wish they would have more seismograph stations up there at the summit area, but we have to utilize what we have for now, at least here to the general public. A little bit, there we go. There's some of that activity occurred overnight. Those wavy lines are the 6.3 that kicked off. That's kind of some surface waves right there. See all those squiggly lines? That's how these vibrations travel through the earth. It's pretty crazy to see, right? Thousands of miles away, being picked up on a volcano along the west coast when this earthquake was off the coast of Taiwan. Let's see, and that did kick off here. Looks like following that 6.3, little activity with some aftershock sequences here. I'm starting to think here that we're starting to see a little trend when these vibrations go through the earth. They do and can trigger earthquakes. If you really think about it, it's kind of like as I mentioned, a frequency or a wave. And if it's strong enough, I believe it can strongly kick off earthquake activity thousands of miles away. So there's that movement there at Mount Rainier. A couple other smaller spikes as well within the last hour or two. But that's the largest one that was reported there in the red line. Looks like that was a 1.4 at 0804 UTC time. 0804 is going to be this one right here. 0804 UTC time. And also a couple other smaller ones in the mix there. But that's a pretty good sized quake there for Mount Rainier area. We haven't seen it ramp up like that in a while. 1.4 and then some smaller quakes as well. Mount St. Helens does have some movement kicking up here as well, being recorded. Looks like this here was prior to the activity that we're seeing at Mount Rainier. We'll go ahead and check out the maps here at the Mount St. Helens region and see what we got coming up here. Check this one out here at the Dome Station. Boy, these things sometimes take a little time to jump in here. All right, what do we got? Yep, definitely some further activity. Once again, notice the black squiggly line here, followed up by a wavy fashion. Excuse me. That is indeed the 6.3, like I mentioned there off the coast of Taiwan, showing up here on the Mount St. Helens station as well. Seen some earthquake activity prior to that, and it looks like afterwards as well. And also during the that wavy pattern, the S waves coming through. So quite a few earthquakes there on the map. A lot more showing up than what's being reported here on the PNSN network. So that's kind of why I tend to go to the raw data to verify the data myself. So, all right, let's back out of here. Some movement up around the Seattle area as well. Just looks like off this little fault system, couple small microquakes. Northern California pretty quiet aside from the swarming there at the geysers, the geothermal field, and some activity up and down the Bay Area and the Sierra Nevada. But noticing a little bit of uptick, it seems like, around the Mount Tom region, just outside of the Long Valley supervolcano. A couple small microquakes kicking up, and even one right smack dab in the crater of the Long Valley region. Haven't seen too much activity there recently. That one pretty shallow at 1.1 kilometers. Low activity down around the Ridgecrest region, and one earthquake here around the Bonefish area, 1.7. Southern California, aside from this movement that's kicking up right now, man, it's pretty quiet up here. Look at that, only a couple spotty earthquakes, but around the Octillo Wells area, getting a little swarm of movement here, 4 earthquakes. Some of it's somewhat deep as well. About 12 kilometers for the deepest quake. Now that is just off of the Elsinore fault system. Kind of extends down here as well. There's a couple different segments that extend through the mountain regions. So kind of watching that West Coast lighten up a little bit, but definitely something to watch. Yellowstone National Park, we'll go ahead and refresh this, make sure we got the latest data. And again, here, not a whole lot going on. There's the signature of the 6.3 right there. Not for sure what that is. Kind of looks like a, let me see, what is that? Kind of looks like a distant earthquake. Could be from, I got it. Could be from some of these up here. Looks like a little bit of microquake activity kicking up here at Yellowstone National Park on the northwestern corner of the region. But again, no major swarming, just a little microquake activity there at the park. Let's see what else we got here, folks. Alaska region lighten up a little bit up through the even the northern end of Alaska, way up north. They're getting in on some activity. Hawaii, let's go ahead and check that out here real quick. Just going to cut this update pretty short. Noticing a pretty good movement of earthquake activity around the southeastern flank area, and Mauna Loa region still showing some movement, although no major swarms to report. No unusual activity there on the Big Island currently. So, all right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. Let's see what else we got. I think that's about it. Solar weather activity. Let's see what we got. Been kind of stable currently, but we are noticing some sunspot development coming around the bend. It's going to be these. Maybe it's not going to let me see this one. There we go. 3007, and there's another one right over here that's, you can't really see it yet, but it's going to have a couple sunspots here facing Earth here pretty soon. These ones are not super dynamic or set up for anything significant, as noted here from the dropping of the solar flare threat probability. So, all right, guys, I'm kind of monitoring some thunderstorm activity here in California, watching the map pretty closely. So I'm going to get into storm chase mode, and if we get some good storming going on, I will be going live here on the mobile device here on the YouTube channel. So I'll still have the Earthquake 3D stream up live, but you will notice a second live stream kicking up if we are out there storm chasing. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now after this update, and be watching the skies pretty closely. A lot of cold air and convection happening right now, so we'll chat at you guys a little bit later. Have a good one.